This episode is brought to you by Case File Truth and Deception, based on the hit crime podcast Case File and Goliath. Wealthy businessman Casey Parker has been murdered, and it's up to you to solve the case. Trade evidence with other detectives and get to the bottom of the crime. Who's on your side? Who can't be trusted? Will you be the first to crack the case? Find out in Case File Truth and Deception game. Available online and in stores at Amazon and Walmart.
Hey y'all, I'm April.
And I'm Caroline.
And this
is your Bloody Happy Hour.
Caroline, are you ready for this?
This is your newest guilty pleasure.
It's the bloodiest part of your week.
Did we say something about it also being happy hour?
Show did.
Because we about to be sipping on some murder. Bloody Happy Hour.
Hey y'all, we are here.
Hello, everyone. I'm proper today.
Okay, she's working on being proper.
Yeah.
This whole podcast. So let's see how that goes. Can you take one more drink?
Oh.
Let's get her drunk. So we don't have proper Caroline. This is Bloody Happy Hour, and it's Thursday, so we are thirsty, and we hope you are too. Unless you're listening on your way to work, just be thirsty for your coffee or your water.
Yeah, that's a good idea. You probably shouldn't have any alcoholic beverages on the way to work because then you might get fired.
Yeah, depending on where you work.
Depending on where you work. So, yeah.
I do know somebody that used to rinse Listerine at work all the time. Come to find out, that was like the alcohol substitution.
They were on intervention later that year.
Basically.
Oh, but did you drink it? Did they drink
Sip it? You know how strong Listerine is?
Yeah, but how do you...
True alcoholics will do that.
It really gets you drunk?
Maybe if you just sip on it.
Doesn't it burn?
I'm sure it does.
I mean, it burns when you gargle and spit it out.
When I used to have to do, like my church used to do like a fast at the beginning of the year, we would do the Daniel fast. So you couldn't have any alcohol. You couldn't have any meat. Like everything had to be from the earth. Like Daniel only ate like vegetables. And so you couldn't drink alcohol. And so I would like talk to my friend who was doing it too. We both like our alcohol. And I would be like, Misty, I just might get some mouthwash. We would joke. I mean, of course we didn't do it, but it like literally, you see it on intervention.
I know.
Or NyQuil. Sometimes I take NyQuil.
Oh, I take NyQuil.
Just to take it.
ZQuil.
Yeah, ZQuil. NyQuil, ZQuil. Just to like have that little fuzzy alcohol feeling.
Oh, like buzzed.
Buzz, yeah. It works. It works.
NyQuil.
And now we're going to have to go to... Somebody's going to have an intervention.
And here we go to rehab.
Here it goes.
Here we go.
Here it goes. Do you have an update on Gabby Petito for all of our listeners?
So it came out yesterday, last week, that they found out of the...
That was like yesterday. When did it come out?
When this show comes out on the air.
Okay. Sorry.
April.
I know, I'm drinking.
I don't even know what to say about you right now. But I'm proper, so I won't say anything. So they found out that she died by strangulation.
Yes.
And it was manual strangulation because they called it throttling, where it is hands. You are being strangled by the hands. Wow. So we can all assume and allege that it was Brian that strangled her to death. But can you this is like the, like it's such a intimate form of killing somebody.
And that's why I guessed that one, because I was like, I think he would want to feel it and then see the life leave her body.
If you go back and watch the body cam videos too, she talks about how they're like, why do you have this scratch on your face? And she was like, well, I mean, he grabbed me like this. And she shows it and gestures how he grabs her around like her jaw. And I guess it would be from like his middle finger or like thumb on either side. And like, that's where he just like either pushed her or whatever. So it's just like, go back and watching that and thinking about that, and you're like, oh my.
She tried to tell us. So but I don't think that he meant. I don't think that he meant to do it like at the time. I think he lost his shit. I think he lost his shit and did it, and then panicked, and then called his daddy, and his daddy helped him get out. Like,
no,
they're
a lot. Nancy Grace and they really think it's the mama.
The mama?
She's like, mama knows where he is. Mama doesn't. Mama's going to know where her little boy is. Mama's going to know, is going to help her little boy get out of trouble. And mama knows. Mama knows exactly when she saw him last. And mama knows this. And mama knows this.
True, on a mama that doesn't have like a domineering daddy. So my new thing is, let's just put it out there, that daddy, that this behavior, Brian Laundrie behavior, that if he's abusive as everybody thinks he is, was learned from daddy. And so he saw it, he witnessed it, he thinks that's how it's supposed to be. And I think mom is probably weak and like basically a victim too.
She's the one who's giving him high fives in his garden, in her garden.
Is she? Through the dirt?
Through the dirt high fives. He's in the garden under a bunker.
She loves him. This is her son. She feels like it's probably all her fault because she let it happen all these years.
I just wish they would say something.
No, daddy is not letting them.
He mowed the grass for the first time last week, which was a big deal because apparently, according to the neighbors, he was very meticulous about his yard, and he would go and mow the yard every Monday, like 10, like whatever, as early as he can.
Another sign of control and perfection that he's that meticulous.
You're so good. You need to tell the FBI.
I mean,
solve the case. He would mow it every Monday. He had not mowed it in 4 weeks. It was getting so long. I'm surprised it didn't like clog up the lawnmower. I watched him mow.
Did you? You and Brian. Dang it, Brian needs to get you on his team.
Listen, Brian Enton. And I do work. I just like, he'll go live for a little bit, and I'll just like, I can listen to it while I'm doing other stuff.
Oh, it's how we are productive. No. She would actually, if he was on his nerves, she would tie him up to a bed. I mean, this might be a good idea. She would just tie him up to his bed so he couldn't go anywhere, and she'd have to deal with them. So she would beat him, and then she would start crying, and she would say, "Just never leave me, just never leave me." So it's real weird because he would beat her, and she'd start crying. But he never told her. She never told him. Like she never got a hug from him.
She never said, "I love you."
She never said, "I love you." She never did anything. Mind you, this was the Hitler Nazi era, and she loved some Hitler. Loved some Hitler. It was like Hitler 2020. It was like Hitler 1935. Like, she had the flags. She was flying them. She welcomed them into the...
So she was not Jewish.
Obviously. I guess not. And then so when Joseph got older, she even encouraged Joseph to join Hitler's like Nazi training camp or whatever.
What? I got to learn about these. Never mind. Go ahead.
So even though he loved her, he also hated her, but he also like fantasized romantically about her. And later on, he kind of applauded himself for like holding back on his
good job,
fantasies.
Joseph.
Good job for not.
I see his name. I say Joseph.
And actually,
S-E-F.
I'm not respecting his name at all, and I probably won't any of them because they call him Joseph. Like if you listen to the Australian, what do you call them?
Austrians
podcasts.
Austria.
I know, but there's some Austrians podcasts that put this out, and they call him Joseph.
Oh,
I'm just Americanizing it, so I'm calling him Joseph.
Yeah,
even though he's not Jesus' daddy.
No.
So he hated her, but he loved her, but he wanted to, do inappropriate things with her. And even though she beat him, he was like, you know what? This is what's gonna give me discipline. She's just trying to give me discipline. So he wasn't even like mad about it. So remember, it's Nazi era. There's bombs going off all the time, and like random bombs. So people would go down in these underground bunkers for a couple days to
yeah.
escape because it was dangerous.
Yeah.
Well, his mom refused. She was like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. So he would go down like with neighbors and other members. And these bunkers were kind of a safe place for him because he had friends and it was kind of normal down there. But he deep down worried about his mom.
It's Austria. I was reading about where they live.
Worried about his mom when he came back up. Was she going to be dead or was she going to be alive? Okay. One day he came back up and Maria, the mama, was gone. She was taken to a Nazi extermination camp. And so they were like, basically, she's going to die.
Well, okay. Yeah.
I can't even think of the history. I don't know why you would be taken. I
don't know history.
But
either,
your
I'm not going to listen to history podcast.
people usually are alive for 2 weeks there. Like, so he thought for a while that his mom was dead. Then the war was over and she shows her ass back up and she is different, even more different than she was before. She like barely talked. She sat outside in a garden like all the time. And they were basically indigent. So while she was gone, he had like foster family, was tossed from house to house. When she came back, they were indigent, they were poor, they lived off of like donated food.
Oh,
all right. So she finally gets a job and they get a house. The war was over and he gets to go back to school. And he is smart in school, like he's legit. So his head gets a little big because he's smarter than everybody else. Turns out he's like 2 grades behind everybody else.
What?
Yes.
That's okay.
But he didn't have friends and he didn't go anywhere because his mom was like, you don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to leave me. You don't need a girlfriend. You don't need anything. But the dynamic shift, like remember Mama used to whip his ass all the time.
Oh,
well,
yes.
One day he came home bragging about something he did at school and Mom knocked his ass. Well, he knocked her back. So
and that turned the whole dynamic
shift. And so now she is for some reason scared to death of him. And
probably
he's kind of running the
how
roost.
she was getting treated when she was at the
Nazi camp. Probably. Well, he had like a lack of sexual exposure because he didn't really go anywhere. So this turned him into this like weird ass peeping Tom where he would go and like look in people's windows. He like timed it when they took a bath and shower and when they were changing. So he was just like a stalker. Them, her,
his little pee-pee.
Dangly Langley.
Dangly Langley.
And, you know, they do this because they like the reaction. Like it's flattering to them. So she screams, she flips out, she calls the police. Police come. And he's basically like, slap on the wrist. Don't ever do it again.
They're like, don't do that anymore.
But people in town kind of know this is happening. So he's like
he's doing
slowly
it
being like deemed a pervert. Yeah. So at 19 years old, he meets a girl named Rosemary or Rosemary. I don't know. It's spelled Rosemary, but some people, the American people called it Rosemary. Other people called it Rosemary.
Well,
I don't know.
It's probably Austria.
I don't know.
Situation.
So they meet each other. She's weird. He's weird. But she's like kind of disabled.
Had issues too from her childhood, I think.
I don't know. She is kind of disabled. Not disabled. She's like dumb, basically. And he's like smart. So they're intellectually not compatible, but like he's just going with it.
Yeah. So
they date. They get married. They have sex. And within a year, her parents report what an asshole he becomes. He talks about how fat she is, like what she eats, how she's going to get fat. She's not even fat yet. He just hates fat people. He would like walk down the road and if somebody overweight, he would like gawk at them and like make these horrible noises and make fun of them. But he was overweight.
He was too? My grandpa hated fat people. He would tell my sister, if you're fat, you're going to take up 2 spaces in the yearbook. I'm not kidding.
Oh, my goodness.
I know.
So when So he was like on her about that. Now, by this time, he had finished like a certification, like an engineering contracting type thing. I never really knew what he did, but he was like, he had expertise. Like he was good at whatever he did. So he would work during the day, and then at night he would like ride his bike and he'd start stalking again.
Oh no.
And so he found this woman named Maria, which I think is just so weird because mama's named Maria. His wife's name is Rosemary.
Yeah.
I feel like. And then he finds a woman named Maria, and he's been following her. Like, and he watches her walk into her house, and he basically breaks in and attempts to rape her. But Maria's a badass. She's like fighting, she's screaming, she's punching, she's kicking. He pulls down his pants and he tries to do it, but she's fighting. And so he pulls his pants back up and he leaves but he threatens her and he's like, I'll be back. Well, Maria like calls the police and she's like, get over here. That pervert that's been showing his penis in the park just tried to rape me.
Oh my gosh.
So they find him and they slap him on the wrist again. But people in the town are talking. So now he's like stepped up a level of pervertism.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Finally, a couple months later, he has his first successful rape.
Oh, good for him.
He's been stalking a nurse. He watches to learn her routine. He learned that she would sleep with the windows open. And so one day he just decides to climb his butt in, and he stands there and he watches her sleep.
Oh, no.
Then he goes to the kitchen, and he grabs a knife and he pulls off his clothes and he gets in the bed with her and he holds the knife to her throat. He rapes her and then he leaves back out of the window. Well, hell, she calls police.
And they
like
say,
everybody else is done.
Oh.
And they're like, oh, remember Joseph that y'all let go the other 14 times? Well, he just raped me, so I'm going to need y'all to pick him up, and he doesn't deny a thing. He's just like, yeah, I did it. I'm sorry. All I want to do is be a good husband. And he's had kids by now. Good husband and father. So he pleads guilty, and he gets an 18-month sentence for rape.
Oh, my gosh.
In Austria. So 18-month sentence, and he only has to serve 12. What do you think Rosemary's doing?
Cooking dinner,
putting money on his books,
right?
Coming to visit his ass. Like, she is
raising the children,
supportive wife, and she never,
because
not
she's
one
dumb,
time,
and she's just
weak.
like,
her sisters even call her like weak, like meek, shy, like all the things.
Yeah.
So she doesn't even bring it up. She doesn't ask a question. She doesn't say like, what, like, why are you, nothing. And then later she says she didn't want to embarrass him.
Oh, well, that's so nice of her.
Good job, Rosemary. So her sisters are like, my sister's weak. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So later he gets out of jail and gets a great job. Oh, wait, I don't whisper. He gets a great job. He's like, works with this construction crew, contracting, like building shit. He's like making money moves. He done bought up some territories, some properties, doing territory checks. Buying up some properties. Buying up some properties. I'm
going to get his email soon.
Making money moves. Like, he has a bed and breakfast. He has all these rent houses.
Okay,
Total, they have 7 kids. And to him, having a lot of kids means he's dominant, he's powerful, and he's building his kingdom.
He got that good sperm.
Obviously. I mean, he's almost like Castro. Sperm works real good.
Oh my gosh.
So he grows up very dominant. Now they're living in the house that him and his mom lived in.
Oh.
We find out later that he puts his mom on the 3rd floor in the attic, locks her in, breaks up the window, and keeps her there until she dies.
Oh my God.
Rosemary, like, where's your mother-in-law?
What?
I I couldn't find out if she knew, if she just ignored it. Like, I
think she's obviously very slow.
No, but you're not that slow. Like,
no,
I don't care.
She's letting it go, and
she's weak. She's slow. Like, you know what's going. I'm thinking she may not know until after mom dies that she's been like locked up.
No,
there the whole
but
time.
the story you're about to tell.
Okay. I don't know. So let's see. So basically, he was dominant over the household. He was basically Hitler. He whooped everybody's ass. He beat them bloody. So all the kids, Rosemary, the kids were so scared of him that when he pulled up, like when they heard him pull in, they would like wet their pants from fear. The boys would do this. They weren't allowed to have friends. They were allowed to have company over.
Why is he so mean? Like, why do you want to have with these kids?
He control. He controlled everything. He controlled
the
when they left to
remote.
work, how quickly they had to come back from school. He monitored every detail of their life, and like when they were gone, he would snoop in their room just to like make sure nothing was happening that he didn't know about.
The hell would be happening? They're like little kids. What can they do? Or, I mean, are they grown by now?
So the first three oldest, they leave home. They hated him, obviously.
Yeah.
Like before the age of 18. And so he's kind of slowly losing his control. Well, middle kid, Elizabeth, she's now the oldest, and she's his favorite. She's the most stubborn, and she reminds him of himself, and he's like Googled over Elizabeth. Like, she gets beats, but she gets favored more than like the other kids. And he kind of blushes over her. He has this nickname for her and everything. What? So, I mean, what do you think happens at age 11?
Well, I would think that you would go to school and you would start playing maybe some sports.
Yeah, and a normal life.
And you'd just have some friends and have some sleepovers, you know. And
you just guessed wrong because it's none of the above. She's not allowed to have sleepovers. She's not allowed to friends. She doesn't play sports because she's afraid that when she changes the locker room, they'd see all the bruises. And by 11 years old, her daddy began putting porn magazines under her pillow as a present. And then he would slowly start to touch her inappropriately. Then he would masturbate in front of her. And then he started full out raping her
porn
at age 11.
Is exactly what David Parker Ray's dad did with him, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, you know, Ted Bundy said it all went back to porn. Everything he did goes back to porn. Porn magazines, he got addicted, and it drove everything.
That's what, who did we do last week?
Castro said it. Hooker said it.
He had the BDSM porn.
Porn is definitely a common denominator with a lot of things.
Oh my gosh, I did not realize that till Riley.
How many times a week do you watch porn?
Not that many. No.
Not that many. Me either. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So,
like once a month, maybe.
So,
every night.
He had eventually told his wife, Rosemary, that he was like done having sex with her because she got too fat. Like he was like done. She was beneath him, is what he told her, actually.
Obviously.
And would tell her in front of everybody.
She's too big to be on top. So
if he wasn't raping Elizabeth, which he was all the time, in his car, in her room, the house, he would like sneak her down to the basement.
He wasn't just beating her. He was raping her.
Beating her, raping her, doing all the things. When he wasn't raping her, he would go to brothels.
Okay, what is a hostel and what is a brothel?
A hostel, I think you just go and stay there. It's like you stay there when other people stay there. I guess
because I saw that movie Hostel, and I was like, that does not sound like you would want to go there. But a brothel.
A brothel is like a hose in this house. There's some hose in this. It's a prostitute house, right? Brothel is a prostitute house.
Oh.
A hostel, there's like hostels going on right now. You can go stay in a hostel when you're traveling with.
But that does not sound like fun.
It's like a cheap way to go and stay.
So it's a hostel's a hotel?
Sure.
Basically, it's a hotel, but it's real cheap. So like,
and you're going to share rooms with a bunch of people.
A lot of people that travel Europe end up staying in a hostel because they can like stay on a cot and, you know, it's like $5 a night or whatever. So it doesn't have all the amenities of a hotel. Like it'll just be a big room that they all stay in.
Lindsay Judy stayed in hostels.
A brothel is.
Hostels.
There you go.
Is it like what's underground with those child porn people who are swingers that we talked about last week?
So brothels, he would go to these brothels and he would hire these prostitutes. He would tie them up. He would beat them. He would choke them. He would like stuff them in bags. Like they had to be in total pain. What did we talk about last week? Pain, suffering in order for him to get off.
Yes.
And so eventually they start refusing service to him because he was so like, violent.
Finally. Jeez,
violent. I mean, there's still like the new ones that would do it.
Cut his thing off.
He's frustrated at home. Cut his dangly langly off. Somebody should have a long time ago. So he becomes frustrated, sexually frustrated still. I mean, like, I don't know why. Like, you're raping your wife, you're raping your daughter, you're going to brothels. Like, you should be very much fulfilled.
You know, maybe he's gay and he didn't know it.
Well, that comes out too. He would also hire little boys and they'd go to, there's this place called Boy Town.
Sometimes just get somebody your own damn age.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe he didn't think about that.
Man, I am the voice of logic. Or something.
Okay, so
I'm proper.
He's like, you know what? This family of my wife and my 7 kids I already have, that's not enough. Like, I need more of my kingdom. So he starts planning to get another wife and start having kids with her.
Oh, because his wife is getting too fat. And
too fat. And then, like, the kids have left.
He just needs to have his grandkids need to have kids.
Yeah.
And his kids need to have kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but they need to be by him.
Yeah.
So, mind you, he's doing all these crazy things, but he's still killing it at work. Like, he's making all the money. He's making more money than he ever has financially. He's working for these big time, like, businesses, contractors, like engineering firms. I don't know. Like, he's just making all the money. So he applies for this loan so that he can add on an extension to his house. And this is going to be his office. This is going to be his like living quarters for tenants. He's going to rent out all these apartments. Like, this is a big loan. And then he gets it. He signs off. He gets a permit and he starts. And he's adding some underground cellars. Here we go with these.
Buckle up.
So he adds a total of like 10 apartments above ground. But underground, he adds like 7 extra rooms that really nobody knows about. He does all this himself. Like, you'd think he's like half Mexican because he's like doing the building, he's doing the tile work, he's doing the vent work. Like, he's doing it all. He don't want anybody to help him. He knows what he's doing, but it takes years. Like, years and years.
Seems like it would if you're the only one doing it.
He's so meticulous and so controlling. Like, it takes a long time.
Gosh.
So
I cannot handle this.
Neighbors
guy.
are like, what's going on? And they're like peeping over the fence.
Yeah.
So he just plants these big ass trees to block the view. It's like a forest back there. I got a neighbor like that. He's probably got an underground bunker.
Yep. If a child goes missing, that's the one it is.
Right there. So
I need a little bit of that over there.
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah.
Tito's refill time. So he wants neighbors to be out of his business. He doesn't talk to them. Like, he's not very friendly at all. So by this time, Elizabeth is 16 and she's like done. She's tired of being raped. She has only two friends, and they also have a shitty household. So they decide to run away together.
Good.
They're going to Vienna and they have no plan.
Vienna, Australia?
Sure. I was like, in Vienna, Mexico? I don't know all these places. So
Austria.
So they slept on benches the first night, and then they found a friend and they stayed
in the trash
at
can
his house.
from Ariel Cash.
From
Cleveland.
It was Michelle.
It was Michelle from Cleveland.
Cleveland.
They actually ended up in Cleveland.
They were so happy and so free for just a couple days.
Oh my gosh.
Because Joseph is like, where's my
bitches?
Where's my daughter? Where's my I don't know, where's my side piece?
Something I can beat around.
He calls the police and he's like, my daughter's gone. I'm so worried from her. She comes from a small town. I think she's in the big city of Vienna. And I want her to be safe. Can you please bring her home? And the police do. They're like, they go and they find him so quick.
The times he's been turned into the police and everything, and they don't do anything about him, they will.
Yeah. So they go find them both, all three of them, and they send them all back home. And so she doesn't see those girls like ever again. Like this is the last time she sees them. So she's at home and she's just waiting to turn 18. He had kind of stopped raping her for a little bit because I guess he had to put all his energy down in the bunker. Yeah.
Oh, he had a plan.
So he would like mess with her a little bit, but not as bad. So she was just like, at 18, I'm leaving. She had a plan. She was writing her older sisters, going to go live with her sisters. She was a waitress at this time. She met like a guy and she was like, I can have a future, but I just can't while I live at home. Right. He speeds up the construction work. Like he's like, hurry.
Did he hire somebody?
Because he finds out that she does want to leave and he's got a limited time.
Oh my gosh.
She finally tells him like the day before his birthday or the day of her birthday when she turns 18. She was like, I'm going to go live with sister. And he blows up and they have this big like fist on fist, physical knockdown, drag out fight. And then he cooled down. And she was like, okay. So she's like slowly packing, a little bit at a time. And he comes up there and he says, hey, I need you, very calmly, I need you to help me put on a door. I'm almost finished. Can you help me with this door, lift this door? So she's like, okay. She goes down there and she thinks she's going to like have an argument and hear a lecture. Well, they go down 3 flights through like 8 doors. And then here's this last door. When they close it, she realizes she's locked up in this bunker. He comes behind her, drugs her with chloroform.
So she goes, she's helping him. He's like, I need help with the door. And she's like, okay, let me help you with the door. Is it the door? And then he like pushes her in. This is what I picture in my head. He like pushes her in and closes the door, and now she's trapped, and he drugs her.
She passes out because it's chloroform.
Chloroform?
Chloroform.
More like borophyll.
Chloroform. And so she passes out. When she comes to, she's tied up. She's on this big ass bed, and she looks around and she sees basically an apartment.
But she's never seen this.
Never seen it before. She sees a toilet and shower. She's on a bed. She's tied to a bed. The bed has beddings, and she realizes this is for me.
Oh my god!
This space is for her.
I have seen a picture of it, but
he kept her there in the dark for 24 hours. The next day, he comes in and he beats her for an hour at least straight. Then he rapes her repeatedly until she can't move anymore. She screamed so much that her throat was like done. After he left her a bowl of food when he was done, and he didn't come back for 2 days.
Oh my gosh.
So 2 days later, she's still chained
at her own house in the basement.
2 days later, she's chained to the floor, and she has just enough slack on the chains to go get the to go to the bathroom. Like,
just
she
enough
can
slack
to reach the toilet. Yeah. He makes her write a letter, and he mails the letter to the residents. And for the next however long, her days are going to be filled with like rape, with beatings, very little food. Okay, so this is what's happening to her. Meanwhile, he's upstairs acting like a distraught parent. My daughter ran away. She joined
Did
a
he call
cult.
the cops again?
He called the cops. He was doing news conferences. He was yelling at cops for not finding his daughter.
What?
He was playing a very sad, supportive, scared father whose daughter has joined a cult. Then this letter turns up in Amanda Berry. She was 3 weeks ago. And Elizabeth's handwriting, and it says, I got a new family. Don't look for me. I don't want to come home.
I'm predicting that's what Brian Laundrie's parents are going to do. Because he's in under their garden and they have him hidden there. And apparently the neighbors have been getting letters.
Oh, my goodness.
According to Brian Enton.
I
But
did see something about letters, but I
Yeah.
didn't know what the letters are in there.
it's probably just hate mail. I'm about to send him a letter.
So she writes this letter. He made her write this letter, but meanwhile he's using.
He made because I was gonna ask how's in her handwriting.
Yeah, he makes her like dictate this letter out. Meanwhile, the letter shows up at the house, so he's showing this to police like as evidence as she joined a cult. Look, this is her handwriting.
See, I told you that's what they all think. Is people are joining cults.
Yes.
That's what the parents of the hooker of Colleen Stan,
Joined a cult.
they were like, well, she just joined a cult. We just have to give her time. And what did the mom say? What did old Rosemary say?
Oh, she was heartbroken.
She was
but
like, she probably
believed
joined a
it.
cult.
Yeah, she was heartbroken, but she believed it.
Okay.
So let's talk about this bunker, right? You go down 3 flights
looking
of
at it.
stairs.
Okay.
There was a trap door behind a bookshelf. So if you just go down there, like you wouldn't even know. You have to move this bookshelf, crawl through this trap door. There is 8 more steel locked doors that he had to like put his key in, open, put his key in, open, put his key in, open. The last 2 doors were electrical and they had a code. And only he knew the code.
Why
built
is this
this.
not videoed and shown to somebody somewhere?
I mean, I think it was for the trial, but
Okay.
So this bunker is dark. It's damp. There is heat. There is ventilation, but it's like shitty. And remember, she shares this with like all the above ground tenants. Okay, so because it's underground and it's cold and it's dark and it's damp, mold starts growing everywhere. She will be in this hole in the ground for 24 years. Not days, not weeks, years. He rapes her thousands of times, and she will get pregnant 8 times and have 7 kids and raise 3 of them underground with
You
her.
just put a whole bunch of numbers out there.
Yes. Let's take a break.
Oh, shit.
She ends up having 3 kids down there. So he thinks he's being real nice when he brings her a TV, right? But really, he just brings it down there so that
Did you just glaze over the fact that she had 3 kids over there?
Yeah, but I'm going to get to that. That's just like a summary of like what's about to be talked about.
Okay. Because the last thing you said, she was there for 24 years.
24 years. He rapes her thousands of times. She gets pregnant 8 times and she has 7 kids. I think she gets pregnant 9 times. She has 7 kids total and 3 of them are raised underground with her during this 24 years that she's there.
All while Rosemary is just
Washing dishes upstairs.
like, I just don't understand how you give birth, all of these things without anything.
She's badass. So, okay, so he knows he's got her down there. She's trapped.
You gotta take the
He
kids
brings
to the
a
doctor?
TV. Nope. He brings her a TV.
Gosh.
And she's like, oh, great. Is he going to be nice? Nope. He puts in all these weird ass porn. And then he makes her reenact the porn that they watch. So just another way for him to have total control and rape her. And then when he'd leave, he would randomly, because there was one light, little bitty shitty light bulb. This place was 300 square feet. Like it wasn't big at all. I don't even know what size it is. Size of a kitchen, one room.
Maybe this room. I don't know.
So one bulb, but she didn't even have access to it. So he would randomly leave her in the dark for days
With
and
the
weeks
kids?
at a time. There's no kids yet. So I'm back at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
Back at the beginning, she just got there, okay? So he would starve her. He would leave her naked. There would be rats everywhere, which I'm like, how did the rats get in?
I don't know.
I guess there's one little vent, like there's a little ventilation system. So she would be in the dark. She'd be naked. She'd be tied to the floor, and she'd hear rats like scurrying and squeaking everywhere. And so she's just going crazy. She would contemplate killing herself, of course. Who wouldn't?
Sure.
Then she would contemplate killing him. But then he told her, you know what? If you try to attempt to get out on this electronic door, I've got it rigged up with gas. And so it'll shut down, and then this poisonous gas will leak out, and then you'll die.
Well,
That would probably make me do it.
absolutely.
And then she was like, well, if I kill him, I can't get out because he knows the code. So I die down here anyways.
Oh
so
my
it's like,
gosh.
no, like, it's a no-win. Either way it goes.
I feel like at this point, if we ever get trapped like this, we should be experts on what to do.
I cannot think of what she could have done.
I
Like,
would not. I
this-
still don't know.
This
actually.
is, I don't know what she could have done. Everything that she could have done would lead to still her dying. Like, I don't know. She was trapped. And I think that's why she was down there for 24 years.
Oh my gosh, that's so long.
So in the meantime, like in the real world, upstairs, he's on the news. Did I already tell you that? Like he's on the news.
Yeah, he's got the.
He's like launching searches. He's doing like what Amanda Berry and Gina De Jesus's moms did, but he is not genuine. Like he's just putting on like the show. And then he'd come home from these things, and he'd walk down there in that dungeon, and he'd just rape his daughter.
So he has all these.
Hi, I'm Hank. You might remember me from a show called King of the Hill. Check out a King of the Hill rewatch podcast. These boys ain't right, but they are funny. Find the podcast anywhere you get your podcasts or at roguemedianetwork.com. I tell you what.
Okay, this is major incest, obviously.
Major incest. So on her 1 year anniversary, so she's been down there for 1 year. She turns 19 because he went down there when she's 18. So in Austria, 19, you're an adult, not 18. So they
Oh.
closed the case because they were like, they haven't found anything.
Oh my
She's not a
gosh.
missing child anymore. She's an adult. She joined this cult. She made her own decision. Case closed. So he celebrates and he takes the chains off. So now she can have access to the whole 300 square feet and not just like
You're so
12
lucky.
of it. Then eventually she starts missing her periods.
Oh, hell, she's pregnant.
She's pregnant and she decides to tell him. What do you think his reaction is? Happiness, sadness, madness? Is he going to beat her like Ariel?
I think he's happy because he wants to have this kingdom of people.
Yes.
And he wants to have all the kids and he wants to have just multiply.
There is uber excitement. He told her that some of his happiest moments, like
Oh.
imagine this conversation. Some of my happiest moments is when your mom, my wife was pregnant with you. So now you are pregnant with my kids. Like how can you even
I
have that conversation and not
can't.
feel weird? That was joyous then. Why can't it be joyous now in my underground kingdom?
Because it's your freaking
Just
daughter.
Because it's your daughter. So he's
my
as psycho
gosh.
as they get.
Uh,
This first one, she has a miscarriage.
Oh no!
And
I bet
you
he
would-
was pissed.
He was, and he blamed her.
Of
and
course.
Then he beat her, and then he left her in the dark for a long time.
Yep.
And she was depressed. She was depressed.
What the hell is she supposed to do about it? She
So
has a
then
light bulb, and she's living with rats.
she ends up getting pregnant again. And she's like, okay. So she gets further along. So she's like, I'm going to need to go to the doctor. And he was like, no, here's some aspirin and here's a baby book and you better figure it out. So when she's pregnant, he doesn't rape her as much because guess what? She's fat and she's not appealing.
Oh my God.
So that's like a little spring break for her.
Oh my gosh. She probably wants to be pregnant then. Forever then.
So then he leaves for 2 weeks right before the baby's about to be born. He leaves her this book. He gifts her a thing of diapers, gives her an extra blanket and some scissors. Why scissors?
To cut the cord.
Yes.
No.
So she's scared to death, like not just because she's going to have a baby underground with only like herself, but then it's like, how am I going to care for the baby? I barely have my basic needs met. So how am I going to meet my needs and my baby's needs? So she's panicking, but nonetheless, like she's just got to get it done. He leaves for 2 weeks straight. Why do you think he leaves for 2 weeks straight?
Because he had to pretend that he was looking for her.
Well, no, he don't got to pretend anymore because the case is closed.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't know if they're going to live. Anything can happen, dear. Even in a hospital, anything can happen.
He's just wants to leave, and he's like, "I'll come back, and if they're still alive, then."
Yeah, if they're still alive, then great. If they're not, I'll dispose of the body.
Oh shit! Oh my gosh! I don't have anything else to say except that.
Yeah, she's stuck. So she reads this book from front to back, and then her water breaks.
Oh.
And
she has to deliver the baby
herself. She boils water because she has a hot plate. She boils water. She gives birth. She cuts the cord. And she has a baby girl named Kirsten. Kirsten was born on her 4-year kidnap-iversary.
Ariel celebrating.
And he's just going to work and drinking coffee and like checking territories and buying up properties. Like he's just living his life for this 2 weeks. So then he shows up and he's like, "Oh, great.
Y'all are alive.
I got a kid.
Good job. You
did
delivered the baby."
So she's down there. She's breastfeeding. When he was gone for a long period of time, he would leave her frozen food because it'll take a while to thaw. And then she can eat on it. And so by the time it thaws out, it can be edible.
Oh, my God.
So she breastfed as much as she could, but she wasn't getting adequate nutrition, so your milk dries up. And now she's not even worried about killing him or herself or escaping. She's like, I need to raise my kid.
Yeah. And how do you just feed the kid the breast milk and that's it?
Breast milk, and then when so he's so cheap, he doesn't want to buy baby food. So she has to take whatever food he leaves her.
What about all the other stuff that comes out when I can't. I don't even know.
I don't even know what she did. He probably just threw it away when he finally came. I don't know.
I know.
Babe.
I can't imagine having a baby, delivering your own baby, and then just being stuck in a room with
the
just
placenta.
Yeah, and whatever.
Kourtney Kardashian ate her placenta, so maybe she ate her placenta.
She probably did.
She probably needed to.
She probably did.
It's good shit.
Yeah.
But so
hashtag placenta life.
placenta life. Okay, so she's breastfeeding. Then the milk dries up, so she needs like formula, and then she needs baby food, but he kind of refuses. So she has to chew up the food that he brings for her in her mouth, rinses it with adds water, alkaline. The tap water, not alkaline. Ain't no alkaline water. No. Rinses it with the water from the faucet that he has. If he turns on the water for her, because sometimes he would just turn off the water, and then she would basically do like a bird and regurgitate it back in her baby's mouth.
Oh my gosh.
This is how you raise a baby in a dungeon.
Apparently.
She did the best that she could. And then, milk, she had to warm it with her body heat. There's no microwave. There's just nothing.
But it came out of her boobs.
Well, after that dried up, so he would not buy anything for them in town. He would drive an hour away to go to some random store
This
to
is
bring
so much extra work.
diapers.
I mean, this is so much work.
I know, but this is his underground family.
Oh my gosh.
He
but,
loved it. He had 2 families, so that made him feel even more powerful.
Oh
He had a
my
wife and a
gosh.
kid downstairs, and he had a wife and kids upstairs. Like he was living his best life.
He had a wife and daughter downstairs, and
What do you call daughter wife?
Dife.
A dive. You call it a dive. He had
I
his
don't
dive downstairs and his wife upstairs.
And meanwhile, Rosemary, she just up there
Washing dishes.
washing the damn dishes. She doesn't even.
And her daughter's right under
her
her.
daughter's underneath having babies.
Having your
Grandbabies.
babies times
Double time.
2. Like, what is that?
I don't know.
Times
It's so
2.
confusing. Why do you do tiramisu, who's incest, and you do this person who's incest?
Yes.
And I do the hitchhikers. I mean, here we go.
Here we go.
Take a drink, y'all.
Okay. So,
Lord, you need it. This is crazy. This is crazy. I thought Aaron Castro he was, I guess because I never heard that story.
yeah.
But this guy,
And it's not
and
even
it's
like,
not even over.
no. So, he would tell his upstairs family. So he tells Rosemary he was going on vacation because he would vacation a lot. And that's when he would go like play with boys, like hire boy prostitutes.
Oh my gosh.
But sometimes he wasn't even going on vacation. He'd just walk his ass downstairs and he'd stay down there with Elizabeth and Kirsten for like a week at a time. And he'd be vacationing there. So he'd rape her. And then he would tell her stories of the upstairs family. They're building a pool and how he loves to go for a dip in the heat of the summer. Meanwhile, it's like 90 degrees in her bunker all the time during the summer. So she's like dying, hot, sweating, and he's talking about his pool. Sometimes he would bring her presents, and it's like those little free notepads that you get from the banks with the pen. But when you have nothing, something like that is so big.
Yeah,
So
you're right.
she didn't do like Amanda Berry. Remember Amanda Berry? She
Yeah,
like wrote down
everything.
everything. She wrote down stuff she didn't want to miss. So Kirsten started walking so-and-so, started crawling on this date. She wrote down her brothers and sisters' names, like upstairs, their birthdays, because she didn't want to forget all these memories, because by this time she was like, I'm going to be here forever. I don't want to forget. So she wrote down things she didn't want to forget. She wasn't even thinking about like it could be a testimony later on because she had lost hope
Oh my God.
by then.
And this was only, what?
Year 5.
5.
Yeah.
Oh,
Year
she's
5.
So many more years left.
So she gets pregnant again.
Oh my God.
And there's a boy named Stefan. Okay, so she wasn't raped during this time. Okay. And so she begged him and begged him and begged him for 5 years for an alarm clock. And after Stefan came, he finally came in with a clock, because she was like, I just need to know what time it is, like what day is, like some concept of like what's going on. So when she got that clock, it was the world. Like it gave her life. She valued that clock because she would put herself on a schedule. Because at least you know, like when a day is, when the night is, when you should go to sleep, when you wake up.
See,
you don't know. There's no lights.
Window. Oh
No window, no
that's
light.
So weird.
You're in the dark all the time, and days and nights are just getting mixed up. So she set her alarm to wake up at 6 a.m. every morning. She went to bed by 10 p.m., and she put the kids on the schedule. Like she would make them something for breakfast. They would do what they could do in the room. Like she did the best that she could. The next present, he also bought her a scale because she needed her to be aware of her weight.
How is she supposed to like lose weight? Walk back and forth, 10
Prison
feet,
burpees?
10 feet, 10 feet.
The prison burpee routine.
I mean, what?
Well, and obviously she's starved, so she's not big.
Yeah,
But
obviously she's not big.
having the baby, she does get bigger.
Oh my gosh, this guy.
So then she gets pregnant again, and she has a daughter named Lisa. And Lisa, so now you got Kirsten, you got Stefan, and it happens about every 2 years. Now you got Lisa. And she has Lisa for about 8 months, but these are incest kids, like they're inbred.
Oh, yeah.
So about 8 months old, Lisa starts screaming, crying, bloody murder for days.
But
And she
Rosemary
don't stop.
still doesn't hear it.
Rosemary can't hear it, but you know who can is those tenants. Because she's on the same system, like ventilation system as them. That's like all part of the same like building. And so later they talk about they would hear weird noises. Their dogs would flip out. So any tenant that he found out had a dog, he would evict them immediately.
Oh,
A tenant talks about how his dog would just dig at the ground, dig, 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 and but inside the apartment, and then like listen and bark and dig and listen and bark. It like would flip out.
Listen, that's why I got
Dogs know.
That's exactly
Dogs
why.
know.
Jax always knows. He will dig out any damn thing.
And so he evicted that man immediately, like locked the doors and kept his shit in there. They had to like bring in the constable or
Life.
somebody. Jaws of Life. The constable to like, so he can get his stuff out.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so back to Lisa. Lisa is like crying. And so Elizabeth is like, she needs a doctor. There's something wrong. She needs a doctor. And so she convinces him to take Lisa upstairs. But he's like, I just can't walk up,
With a baby.
with a baby. So he puts her in a cardboard box and he makes, what's her name?
Lisa.
Elizabeth
Oh.
write a letter to them to take Lisa. So the letter says, Dear parents,
Oh.
I pass on my daughter Lisa to you. Look after her carefully. You're probably wondering why you're hearing from me only now, since this letter comes along with a human surprise. I am incapable of caring for her. I hope this will not be too much trouble for you. Don't look for me. I am all right. So they take this letter and they take Lisa and they take her to the hospital. She has to have emergency surgery. Like she would have died down there. She has the surgery. She ends up fine. They show the doctors the letters and the doctors are like, and they show the police and they're like, oh, okay, yeah. So this follows the story. The letter that she wrote 5 years ago or 6 years ago when she missing, they like do handwriting experts. So they're doing a little bit of investigation. They compare it to like her schoolwork and they confirm it's her handwriting and then they close the case. Yeah, Elizabeth. They confirm they confirm it's her handwriting and so they close the case because basically she's still in a cult and so she just dropped off her kid on the front porch.
So Joseph's story is that
Working.
Elizabeth just dropped off this baby on the front porch with the letter.
The cult drove her ass
saying,
in there.
Oh, I can't take care of this baby, and
Yeah.
now I'm gonna drop the baby off, and the baby's sick. Take the baby to the hospital. And
Take the baby to the hospital.
Everybody's believing it.
Yeah, everybody's believing it. Even the town folk.
Even the damn town folk. But guess who's not believing it? Probably that upstairs neighbor who got evicted, and they ain't listening.
They're
They
not
ain't
listening. They're not listening.
I'm being proper.
So now so then I'm like, how can Joseph even be a foster parent? He's a convicted rapist. You have to pass a background check. Like anybody
Yeah.
can't foster a kid. Well, guess what? Rapists, you may all move to Austria and you can rape somebody. And in 10 years, your record is completely erased.
Why would that even
Be a thing.
How many euros
So his
was
record,
it?
400.
400 euros equals $463.
Oh. Okay.
No.
It's close.
Okay.
So that's how much he gets for Lisa.
Okay.
400 euros
But he gets to be erased from the
upstairs. And nothing
from
else.
the sexual predator list or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you're only a rapist for 10 years there, and then it falls off your record.
Oh,
So
then you
this was
just
10
stop.
years later, so he was
That's
able
good.
to be a foster parent.
Oh,
He
see.
got like money from the state, so
Just-
he's good.
Don't move to Austria.
So the town folk are like, Elizabeth, she's a dirty hoe. Like, what kind of person is going to just have these kids
And drop them off
and
on the
drop
porch.
them off? Thank goodness she has great, decent parents who are willing to take care of her kids.
Oh, no.
Little did they know.
Oh,
Mama was like blind, deaf, and dumb like Helen Keller.
Like out.
And then daddy was like rapist incest. So
What idols? I mean, they got it going on there. Wow.
So it's 1993. It's 9 years later, and Elizabeth is like, we need more than 300 square feet. So he agrees to enlarge
Enlarge? Yeah.
the space to 600 square feet. But they had to do the work. So her, Kirsten, Stefan, they're like digging dirt. And so they would dig dirt. He'd come down there every couple days, take the dirt out, throw it in his garden, and then they dig until they had this big open spot, and then he like sealed it up, and then there was a new room. And poor little Stefan had no idea what to do with the new room. Like, imagine being in a space and then that space doubling, and you just can't even fathom the concept of more room because you've been used to this for
Can you
so
imagine
long.
if he was released into the world?
We're going to talk about it. So, did I tell you the height? The height is only 5 feet and 5 inches.
Oh,
So
no.
you would be hunched over.
I would not fit.
You would not
I would
fit.
definitely not fit.
So obviously he's short. Obviously Elizabeth's short. And then so the kids are little right now, but that becomes a problem later on when like they start growing.
I would think so.
After they grow, their 300 goes to 600. She gets pregnant again. Mind you, every time, like every day or every other day, he's coming down. He's still raping her. He's still beating her. They would see it in the beginning, but now they have an extra room. So he'll at least take her into another
my
room.
gosh.
So they just hear it because it's like still 600 square feet. But they're trained not to react, because if they did react and if he got bad mouth, wouldn't get any food, and they would sit in the dark for days at a time as a punishment. So they just had to deal with it.
I mean, how old are they? Like 3, 5, 7, 9? I mean, they've been there for I don't know how many years.
9 years. So 5 and like 3. 5 and 3.
Jeez. So they're how? Oh my gosh.
So here's a new baby. Baby's
Gosh, another
name's
one.
Monica. And Monica starts crying uncontrollably. She's there for about 9 months. She's getting breastfed. Like, Elizabeth is doing her thing. And so this gets me about you mamas that like drown your kids. Well, Elizabeth was raising 3 kids in 600 square feet with like barely any electricity, barely any water. And she is like making it happen. And then y'all are drowning your kids or poisoning your kids or killing your kids in like 5-bedroom households. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a whole nother month of. Okay, so here's Monica. Monica ends up like being sick too, so she has to go upstairs. And
This is another baby that's left on the porch.
another baby left on the porch, but he's like, let's change it up. Let's put it in a bag this time.
Instead of a cardboard box.
So, and like
Write another
here,
letter.
write this letter. And then but then it's December and it's freezing cold. And he puts her outside. He's like, but I can't find her because somebody might think something like this is, if I found the first baby and the second baby. So he just leaves little Monica outside in the cold in December all night. And the next morning, Rosemary, because, she's blind, deaf, and dumb anyways. She probably just stumbled over the baby as she's walking out to check the mail.
I'm trying to dry my dishes.
Oh, this is a baby.
what is
What? Here's a letter. And then so she finds her. Here's a letter. Phone rings.
Sounds like how you talked about your dog.
I know, she's like Rocky.
Rest in peace, Rocky. We love you.
So then the phone rings, and it's Elizabeth's voice. And it's basically like, oh, yeah, here's another kid. Can you watch this one too? How's Lisa? Peace out. I'm still happy with my cult. Don't look for me. Okay, bye.
What?
Yeah. So they take this information and the new letter and the new baby, and they get 400 more euros a month for little Monica. So they got Lisa, they got Monica. Listen, Trent would know better than send me all these damn kids, because I only wanted one in the first place. Trent would be like, "Hey, don't worry about it. Let's just keep them down here. My mom ain't gonna watch them anyways. Don't worry about it. We'll figure it out." Boy, I want somebody to send me all these dang on kids.
Oh my gosh, I can't.
So there's Monica. There is Lisa. After the phone call, Rosemary was like, "We just changed our number. How did Elizabeth get our new number? Nobody has it."
Rosemary coming in.
And then she was like, "That must be a smart cult. It must be like a cult / FBI.
Rosemary putting the pieces together?
No, because she's just like, it's just a smart cult.
Oh.
The cult must have connections. And she's not like,
Damn it.
she's not like,
Rosemary, you sound
Joseph,
a lot like me.
How would, only me and you have the number. How would Elizabeth have the number? She's just like, that was a smart cult. So she's still way off.
Yeah, so we're real similar. Just call me Rosemary.
I'm no Rosemary, your husband
say what you're gonna say.
dialed the
No,
number.
bitch.
No, bitch. Your husband dialed the number, played a recording. So turns out Monica had hammer toe. No, I'm playing. I knew your reaction.
It's just like what?
No, Monica had an ingrown hair under her toenail that had to be removed.
That's it?
That's it. But it hurts. She had to have surgery to get it removed.
Under your toenails?
I don't. She's inbred.
Oh, that's true. She got hairy ass toes.
Lucky for Monica, she did, because she don't got to be raised in a dungeon. I don't know how we can make a joke out of everything.
Because we can. Because ain't nobody. She's like Bigfoot over here. She has hairy toenails. I have hair, obviously, but ain't no hair coming out my toenails.
Not the toenails. Well, she had an ingrown one.
That sounds so painful.
So I said they got 400 euros for Monica now, right? So
Yeah.
here go the town folk. Oh, baby number 2, Elizabeth. Like, what's the deal with Elizabeth? She must be a certified freak 7 days a week.
Okay.
Joseph and Rosemary,
Okay, Cardi.
like they are saints. They are amazing parents. Joseph thinks he's being real nice by taking them down to the basement with them. So he'll take Lisa and Monica when he goes to see his downstairs family, and he's thinking, oh, this will be great for Elizabeth to see the other 2 kids.
Oh, he's taking him to visit. Okay. Mm.
And it's so hard for Elizabeth that she's like, please don't do it anymore, because it's too hard when they leave.
Yeah.
So then he stops. Plus they can't, because they got to start remembering, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Elizabeth also channeled her inner Amanda Berry. Remember I told you Amanda Berry would like set an alarm, have school, teach them all these things, like structure. Here's recess time, here's craft time, here's nap time. So she's doing that with the kids that she has down there. She's teaching them all about like grass. They don't know what that is. Snow, sun, light, streets, like all the things that she knows about. She begs Joseph to bring home like textbooks, books, newspapers, and she has school with them, and she does a good job.
Oh my gosh.
When they expanded, he got her a stove, because now this is his family, and so he wants her to like cook a real meal for him when he comes down there. So now she has a stove and some utensils, and he'll bring her lingerie.
Lingerie?
When he thinks it's like a present for his wife. He's like kind of courting her in his mind. So she would save a little bit of butter and a little bit of eggs and a little bit of sugar, and flour, however you make a cake. And by the end of the year, she'll have enough to make a cake.
Whatever's in the box.
Whatever. Nope, she don't got the box. She would have enough to make a cake for them on their birthday. Like if she just saved a little bit at a time. She rationed it so that she could make them a cake on their birthday. Oh. And she would take like scrap paper from whatever, and she would, the little chain links that you make like out of paper. That's how she would decorate for them for their birthdays. Like
she was doing the most.
She was doing the best she can. Remember they had a TV. Like, they had a couple TVs because they wouldn't last long because it would so damp and moldy.
Oh my gosh.
They would watch movies as a quote unquote family. He would bring
Yeah.
like these. And so them watching TV of the outside world was fantasy. It was like when we watched Back in the Future, right? And like everything was in the future, like it was part 2, and they had flying cars and they had like talking screens. And when we watched it when we were little, it was like, oh, this is like crazy fantasy, futuristic type stuff.
Yeah.
That's how they were when they were watching like regular stuff on TV because they'd never seen it,
I can't believe they'd never been outside.
never been outside, never.
Gosh.
So then they wanted to dress up like the people they saw on TV. So then she had to take like old clothing, old blankets, old papers, and she would sew outfits
She got needles?
for them to play dress up in. She got like a
gosh.
little bit more,
Yeah,
little
she-
by
yeah,
little. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
she was down there for 24 years.
Oh, I can't.
He probably brought like a needle year 14 and then a string year 17. There's no telling how he did it.
Oh, no.
So she's pregnant again because he's got some good sperm. I feel like he's 99 years old.
Yeah, like how old? How many kids do you have? Like 75
This
kids?
is just about the last set. So there's
Oh my
twins,
gosh.
Michael and Alexander. And so she has them down there by herself. What I think is crazy is like she don't need a C-section. They're not breached. Like she just has them. And by this time she's a pro. She's like cutting the umbilical cord, boiling water, like nursing. But Michael, he's having some respiratory problems. He's kind of pale. And
Because you gotta like suck
But-
the stuff out of their mouth too. Like,
Yeah.
So she has to know how to do all of that stuff.
she read the book. Those little
Guess it
medical
was a
books.
good book.
I guess it was a good book.
Oh my gosh.
So she had Alexander, she had Michael, but there's something wrong with Michael. And she begged for him to take Michael upstairs. Yes.
Okay,
He
I have to
refused.
think about this.
He refused. And later he says that him and Rosemary couldn't handle any more kids.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So sorry. All your kids. So he was like, what will be, will be. And he left
Gosh, I
for
hope he's burning in
days. When he came back, Michael was dead. She was just holding the little
body.
body.
Oh my gosh.
And she was done. Like, how are you not already done? But she was really done.
Yeah.
He took the body. He put it in his incinerator. I guess you have incinerator at your houses in Austria.
Burned it up.
He burned it and he threw the ashes on the backyard.
Oh.
I know. So
Wow. Literally, what's the devil? This is this guy.
Alex eventually, the other twin, was eventually taken upstairs in the same manner like some of the other kids. So there's 3 kids upstairs,
Yeah.
and she still just has Kirsten and Stefan. The upstairs kids, like, they got to travel to the Mediterranean, to Italy. Like, they had money, so they would go on these vacations. Now, they were getting their ass beat.
Oh,
but-
he's beating them still?
Oh, yeah,
Oh my
everybody. Beats everybody.
God.
They learned to play instruments. They did good in school. Joseph loved having a boy in the house. And so that's why he really took Alexander up there, because he was like, ooh, I want a boy. I want a boy in the house. This is going to be like my son. I mean, it is a son, but Alex eventually grows closer to Rosemary, and this pisses Joseph off. So Joseph's like, well, I'll just have me another one. So he starts raping her, and then he gets another one because Felix is born in 2002.
Oh my gosh, how many children you got?
This is the last child, finally. Meanwhile, Elizabeth has finally decided to tell the kids the truth about Joseph. Like, this whole time she's been playing into the second family, the underground family, and that's their
I mean, they're
daddy.
probably like 15 by now.
Oh, they are.
Oh my gosh, they are.
They are. It's 2002. They're like teenagers.
Oh, shit. They're getting like pubic hair and stuff.
She finally tells them what Joseph did, how she got down there, what her life was
Surely
before.
together they
but
could like
she-
escape.
Promised them I had made them promise not to tell him. So when he came down, they had to play like they knew nothing. Like, oh, hi, Daddy. You know, like they had to be the underground family.
Hi, Daddy, Grandpa.
Hi, Dad, Pa. What do you call that?
Daddy, Grandpa. That's all.
Granddad. It's literally a granddad.
Literally granddad.
Literally a granddad.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so granddaddy, granddad,
Daddy Grad, Daddy Grand.
Daddy Grant.
So listen, it's going to get more psycho-er. We're almost there. Joseph comes up with this idea. He's going to merge his upstairs family and his downstairs family together, and they were going to be one happy power family unit.
Get it, Joseph.
Power.
Joseph, you got this.
He wanted to plan it like Elizabeth is going to escape with her kids, show up on the front door. They were going to all raise the kids together.
Yeah.
And so, and then he was like, so I guess he didn't think about like Elizabeth then calling the police and turning them in. He just thought he had that much control.
Yeah.
Plus, he was getting old and weary, and it was hard work maintaining 2 households.
I would think so.
And then he was outnumbered because these kids are getting big.
And there's a lot of them.
Yes. Outnumbered downstairs. So they could jump on him. I just don't know what they would do when they jumped on him. Like, you can't get out. You don't know the code.
Beat him. I don't know.
But you can't get out?
Well, you got to get in and out with the code?
You got to get out this door. That
do.
main door, there's a code. It's like electrical. Only he knew how to do it.
I guess you just have to, like, have him trapped in a spot where you are, like, torturing him until he tells you the code. Like,
I don't know. I don't even know.
Follow him real close? I mean, I don't know. I've never been in a situation. I don't know.
So in order to make this new dream happen, he needed to get more money. He's already making money moves. So he gets approved for a 3.5 million euro loan because he needs to expand his home, expand his business, because he's going to employ his whole family to work for him. He had it all dreamed out.
What a great idea.
Elizabeth would be his secretary / girlfriend / wife / daughter.
Oh my God. She's got so many roles.
Kirsten would be his daughter / granddaughter / chef /
Oh, she's the chef?
Maid.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
Oh, good.
Everybody was going to work for him.
Obviously.
And he was going to be the king. Stefan would be the engineer and the contractor and would help him with all the remodeling and the building of new territories and properties.
He's too much.
And then Felix was his favorite. Felix would be molded to be just like him and would be the heir of his kingdom empire.
Of his dungeon.
In his mind, is his kingdom.
Good dreams for Felix. High hopes.
So he's talking and he's planning, and Elizabeth's like, whatever.
Yeah.
But
she's
something
like,
happens.
we're planning to do something else. Okay.
Something happens. It's April 19th, 2008. Kirsten is now 19 years old.
Oh, shit.
She has been sick throughout her whole life, on and off, but now she's deathly sick. She's been having seizures. She's pulled out her hair by the chunks. She stopped eating. She can't breathe. It's convulsions. And so Elizabeth convinces Joseph to take her upstairs. And he wants, by this time he kind of likes her a little bit, so he wants to save her. So he does. They end up at the hospital because she's about to die. When they arrive at the hospital realizes she's vitamin D deficient. Sun. What gives you vitamin D? The sun.
The sun.
It's caused her body to go into multiple organ failure.
From just the sun?
Just the sun. Well, and she can't eat. Like they have never had fresh vegetables, never had fresh fruit. They get frozen and canned foods.
So you can basically live 19 years in a dungeon.
Only 19.
Yeah.
Because this was about to be the end for her if she didn't get help.
Oh my gosh.
She's pale. She's underweight. She has chunks taken out of her hair.
No hair.
And then here's Paw, because now he's Grandpa. Oh, this is my granddaughter. I
gosh.
found her on my porch.
Once again. How many times?
And then he explains how his daughter Elizabeth ran away and joined a cult 24 years ago, and since then has been leaving kids on the front porch. And he had every letter with them. Look at this letter. He's like making it rain with all these letters that he made her write. And so they're like, oh, okay, yeah, we remember hearing about this. But they're like, there's still something wrong. She's anemic. So the doctors they're scared to help her. They want to save her, but they don't know how to help her because they don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So they go to the news and they're pleading for Elizabeth to come to escape the cult and come and tell them about their daughter and what's going on so that they can save her daughter. And they said, you know what? She has to love her daughter. If
Surely the daughter has to tell them.
daughter is in a coma.
Oh, shit.
Daughter, sorry, I left that out.
It's okay.
Daughter's in a coma. And so police are now back on the scene because doctors, it's child abuse. Like this is a it's a big child abuse. So police are back. They're questioning Rosemary. They're questioning Joseph. They take DNA tests of everybody in the house, but Joseph refuses. He's too busy. So he's got the heat on him. He goes downstairs and Elizabeth's like, let me come up. And then he's feeling pressured. He feels all his control like slipping away. And so he makes her promise.
Okay.
I'm going to leave these other kids down here. If you turn on me, or if I can't trust you,
He's so damn old
you'll
at
miss
this
these
point.
kids.
Come on.
I know. So she comes and she shows up to the hospital. She's talking to the doctors. She didn't tell the doctors what they want to hear, so they called the police. Now she's in the police station, and it's just her and the police. They're like, what cult are you in? What's the name of it? Where's it at? What are your beliefs? Like, they're kind of questioning it finally. 24 years later, they're like, oh, what is the cult finally? And she has no answers, and she's kind of like being evasive. So they're like, you know what? We're going to arrest you and we're going to take your kids away because this is abuse. She finally says, I will tell you everything if you promise I never have to see my dad again. So they're like, okay, bet. So she tells them how her dad had her held captive in an underground bunker for the last 24 years.
And she had 18 kids.
And she had 77 kids. 3 of them are down there right now. And so they grab Joseph, they arrest him, and they question him. And then they're like, oh, wait, let me look at these letters. You know what? She doesn't never name the cult. Usually if there's a cult letter, like there's like these Bible verses or like, the end of the it's coming, like it's the end of the world. Like they have these beliefs, cultish beliefs. There's no indication of any kind of cult talk in the letters. And then they're like, but cults like kids because they either want to molest them or they want to like keep them and raise them to add to their army or something. So cults don't even get rid of kids. So now 24 years later, they're like, oh, wait, this actually doesn't make sense.
Oh, way to go.
Then they looked at the postage from the letters, and they all came from one of Joseph's businesses.
Mother.
Imagine if they would have did that 24 years ago.
That would have been nice.
So they interview him, and Joseph is like, I just want to protect my daughter.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
There's bad people in the world, and there's bad morals.
Yep.
And
devil.
She was raped by her Uncle Franz. Uncle Franz don't exist. And then after that, she just started having sex with everybody and drinking and smoking and doing drugs. Yeah, this is what he is saying. And so he basically put her down there to keep her safe, to get her off drugs, and it's basically like rehab.
Oh, it's so nice of him.
And then he realized how desirable his daughter was. So then they started having consensual sex.
Oh, I bet it was consensual. Keep on going,
How psycho is he? So then he kept her there they were like, why did you keep her there for 24 years? And he was like, well, she stopped fighting me off, so I thought she liked it. Plus, I gave her life. So basically, I owned her. She is my
Okay.
possession. I
I'm
can
like,
do what I want
act
with
like
her.
I'm talking in a conversation.
I
with him.
know. I mean, it's just crazy.
Literally.
So basically,
it is
he did nothing
insane.
wrong. And then he was like, if you go look in other people's cellars, you'll probably find
Oh.
people trapped there too.
I don't know what kind of cellars you've been in lately, bro, but ain't nobody got cellars like this around.
So he was like, I was a good dad and I was a good spouse. We watched movies.
Listen, he needs to stop talking.
I took him presents. Like it's just stupid. So now the question is, the police were like, where's Rosemary? Did Rosemary know?
No, she dumb, blind, and deaf.
So is she ridiculous or did she know? What do you think?
Oh, I think she's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they did all the DNA because Elizabeth was like, I never saw my mom. I never heard her voice. Like she had no, I don't think that she had any idea.
Based on how you described he behind this door, and this, I mean, like, I don't think she could have heard them, but
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean,
She had no idea. Now, could she have probably done a little bit more?
yeah, whenever
probably.
yeah.
So the police investigate the dungeon, his lair. The smell was horrible. They found porn that was filthy, hideous, like ridiculous. They had to take breaks because they couldn't handle it. 1 week later, after Kirsten went into the coma, she finally woke up. She saw sunlight for the first time in her life. The doctors tell her what happened and tell her everything's going to be all right. And her words, quote unquote, were, "Hello, new life."
Oh my god.
She was
She's
so excited.
ready for her new life.
All the kids, the upstairs, the downstairs, they were reunited and at a psychiatric hospital.
Oh,
They
no.
had like a team of like 12 doctors just for them. Think about the therapy that needed to happen.
Can't.
So like the kids were sensitive to light. They had to have special sunblock, special sunglasses. Triggers caused them to go on these crazy panic attacks. So Stefan was disabled because he had to be hunched over. He was actually 6 feet tall, but he had to live in 5 feet, for forever. And the sound of closing and opening doors would send them into a frenzy. They heard 8 doors every single time he came and every single time he left. The dimming of lights, because he would keep them in the dark for so long, send them into like these panic attacks.
Don't even think about those things, but that's got to be awful.
Upstairs siblings, they were pissed this whole time. They thought their mama abandoned them. And then now they were like, oh, she was underground. So then they had guilt, like survivor's guilt. They had anger. Downstairs children had abuse, lack of medical treatment, and they were all had genetic issues because they were inbred.
Yeah.
So years and years of therapy.
Oh my gosh.
This was the biggest story ever in not Australia, Austria. Pictures were worth hundreds of thousands of dollars for them. Like, so people were sneaking into the hospital just to try to get a little snippet of them because you could sell it for hundreds of thousands. The first picture ever went for $1 million.
Oh, shit.
Elizabeth so here's the trial. Elizabeth wouldn't do a live testimony. She videoed it and it was like 20 hours long. And they had to take breaks because it was so bad. So bad, so bad. Like the jurors had to take breaks listening to it.
I'm about to have to take a break. I got to pee.
Where this is it.
I know.
So what's crazy is that in Australia, you can basically get away with anything. So he had all these charges: incest, rape, slavery, like imprisonment. Incest is only worth 1 year. Rape is only worth 15 years, but you can't pile them on. So you can rape somebody 14,000 times, but you're only going to get that 15-year sentence. And then slavery was 20 years. So he was only looking at like 36 years. And they were like, that's not enough. So they got him for murder of baby Michael.
Yes.
So then he got life imprisonment without the possibility of parole for 15 years.
Oh, that's nice.
So he's up for parole in 2023.
Except,
What?
did he die?
I don't think so.
Oh my god.
Did he die?
I don't know. I'm getting all these people confused. I swear he died of a heart attack. Maybe that
Maybe
was David
so.
Michael, right?
Oh,
Or-
shit.
Is that his name?
I don't think I didn't see it, but
Oh
I don't
my
know.
gosh. I thought he was dead this whole time.
When Elizabeth got free, she was 42 years old. From 18 to 42.
Shit, that's your whole freaking lot. Dude.
Is he dead?
I don't know.
No, I don't think he is. People would give her money. Like this one girl that was actually found in a cellar in Austria 2 years before gave her like 25,000 euros. She found love in her 50s from her bodyguard.
What?
Because they had to
I
have
need to get a bodyguard.
and security guards. And he moved in with her. She has all her kids around her. They moved out of the city. They have new identities. But people found them because this movie came out, like this Lifetime movie. So the kids, I tried to find updates, but there's not many because they don't have identities. Like they changed their identities. I know
kids.
some of them went to college. One of them still in high school. And as far as Joseph, he's still hated in prison. He changed his name because he got his ass beat. He's secluded in his cell, just like she was in the basement. He's afraid to leave.
Good.
And he's a prisoner with no control, which is great. Like, that's what you always want them to suffer. Like, he cries himself to sleep every night.
Good. I hope he gets tortured so bad.
What's crazy is that he could get out of jail in 2023. So I'm just
Hell
going to have to
no.
watch it. Just going to have to watch it. Rosemary, whatever her name is, she lives alone. And he is just writing his memoir. So maybe he's going to have a book.
He is 86 years old right now.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he has like 15 more years of life. And
It's just horrible.
I hope it's horrible. And if he gets out, we need to go find him.
Well, he's busy writing his memoirs.
Oh,
And he gets
Hey, nobody.
he's had
Listen, I'm trying to be
hundreds
proper.
of love letters.
Nobody wants to read your memoir. I'm sorry.
I'm probably going to read it.
No,
But listen,
I
people have been writing him love letters.
I was trying to say, ain't nobody trying to read your damn memoir. But I was trying to be proper, and I was saying, there's nobody who wants to read your memoir.
I like it the other way better.
Well,
Ain't nobody.
Nope.
Ain't nobody.
listen, I don't want to offend anybody. I do not want to offend people, and I'm trying to be proper.
Okay.
I ain't even got a problem with I'm gonna stop yelling.
There is Joseph. There is Elizabeth. That
Oh my
was a
gosh.
mouthful.
That was. And I have to make sure
my
that
goodness.
Listen, I texted Sweet Pea. He sent me 3 messages back. I did not even read them yet. And I got to make sure that all my people are ready for my lineup.
Okay. So let's end this. Next week, we're going to end this month of
With
abducted,
another one.
kidnapped, and tortured. Caroline is actually going to ease us in to our
Serial killer mom.
yes. So her person does abduct people. He does torture people, but he is also a serial killer.
He is everything you've ever thought was terrible.
Your mouth should be watering. So stay tuned next week for Caroline's episode. Let's not even scoop them. Let's let them
Nope.
guess.
So stay aware
Stay alive.
and always be DTF.
Go rate us. Go review us. And go subscribe. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.
Frozen, Frozen, heroes. Gonna tell you about Frozen, Frozen, heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Hey, I'm Zach,
And I'm Mike.
and we have a fantastic new podcast to tell you about. Bros, Foes, and Heroes. It's the two of us looking into the world of comics, breaking down some characters that you may have never heard of, and some that are just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, so Zach comes up with a character each time, and I go into it just completely blind. I don't know who this person is or what their abilities are or anything, and basically I guess we kind of go over their origin story and just some of the ridiculous stuff that maybe, especially Golden Age stuff.
Oh, Golden Age stuff is always the best, and we will make sure to highlight all of the shenanigans and just absolute weirdness of everything.
Yeah, that's right. So subscribe today and follow us on Instagram at Bros, Foes, Heroes.
And if you don't, I know where you live. Not really, but please subscribe.
Frozen, Frozen, heroes. Gonna tell you about Frozen, Frozen, heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Hi, I'm Hank. You might remember me from a show called King of the Hill. Check out a King of the Hill rewatch podcast. These boys ain't rap, but they are funny. Find the podcast anywhere you get your podcasts or at roguemedianetwork.com. I tell you what.